Doug Wilder, Purely Domestic Wine Report, and we just are here with Morgan Twain-Peterson of Bedrock Wine Company, and we just finished a kind of introductory tasting and chat about the new wines. And another thing I wanted to talk with Morgan about was something he introduced me to earlier this year, the Historic Vineyard Society, which is a registry of old vine vineyards throughout California, and eventually you want to kind of take it worldwide or something, right?
Well, it'd be nice if we could cover California. That would be in my lifetime. That would be a small miracle. But yes, I think that if we were able to link and work with some of the other organizations that are working to preserve old vines in the Barossa Valley and McLaren Vale in South Australia and a few other places around the world, that would be South Africa. That would be great.
And I understand the registry is growing?
It is growing. So the idea is that basically we've compiled a list of as many old vineyards as we can possibly come up with in the state of California. I'm sure that there's many that, for instance, have never been vineyard designated but exist. And we're trying to get people to give information about the vineyards as to when they were planted, the history, pictures, what the melange of vines are, whether it's Zinfandel or Semillon or a field blend of all these different types of things. Because we realize that there really has been no census of sorts or any attempt to try to understand the old vine and plant material that exists in the state. And considering the fact that qualitatively old vines tend to be very good, but also tend to be lower production and are many times the first to be ripped out when new varieties come in. We feel like if we can somehow start collecting information and thus thereby educating and edifying people about their importance, then hopefully we can create a organization that can sort of battle or at least raise enough awareness that these vines just don't get ripped out whenever something else comes along, because a lot of times people don't even realize what they're ripping out.
Mm-hmm. Well, I remember the walk that we took through Whitten Ranch and through the 101 Ranch from Turley.
Yeah.
I typically don't get that up close and personal, and especially following you and Mike Officer around, I kind of felt like a kid in a candy store.
That's how we feel too.
Because you guys were out like trying to identify vines by the leaves, and I was just fascinated to follow you guys around. And so what are you going to be doing for more kind of outreach to be more people aware of this? Are you going to do anything with ZAP this year or anything like that?
Yep, we're doing stuff with ZAP, and I'll get to that in 1 second, but I actually would love to go back to your point about what we're finding out in those vineyards, because I think that this speaks to very much some of the importance of the Historic Vineyard Society, is that in the last 2 years, Mike Officer from Carlisle and myself, along with Will Buckland from Old Hill Ranch and a few other people, have started to go through and started working with UC Davis and Foundation Plant Services, doing DNA identification of any varieties that we can't, readily identify out there. And what's pretty remarkable is that we've already come up close to 50 varieties, and that's only looking at about 9 vineyards in Sonoma County. Many varieties that are extinct where they were originally from. We found a vineyard called Castet that's related to Carmenere at Bedrock. That's from the Gironde, but it's no longer grown there. Things like Persan and Mollard, which are nearly extinct varieties from the Savoie, we found at Old Hill. Found things like Feher Zagos, which is a very rare Hungarian variety out at Sayatone Ranch. And so what is becoming abundantly clear, even just by the limited amount of sampling that we've done, is that because of the arid climate in California and the very old, and as a result we have very old vineyards, we have some of the most diverse vine stocks in the entire world, right here in California. So not only do these wines make really interesting field blends and very qualitatively, amazing wines, and viticulturally are very interesting, but, and just in the sheer name of science and exploration and trying to figure out what's there, I think it's very much to California's credit if we're able to, start saying, well, look, we've got these incredibly old vines, and we have, we might have varieties that might work really well in this day and age of global warming coming on, and all these other things that are out there, all these other things. So just collecting as much information is very important to begin
it's like
with.
the Historic Vineyard Society nursery.
Exactly, something like that. And as to your question regarding outreach stuff, yes, we're trying to do as much outreach as possible. We're going to have a table at ZAP. We're trying to get Zinfandel and advocates and producers tasting, which usually has 10 to 11,000 participants. Trying to get other wineries really to have awareness about Historic Vineyard Society so they can register their vineyards, and so we can get more information. And just so we just have this database. Eventually we'd like to have photos of all the vineyards so people can, it'll be a great resource for people to go to, and then it's like whenever they have a bottle of wine from any given vineyard, whether it be Pagani Ranch, they can go and say, oh, this is Pagani Ranch, Ridge has gotten this vineyard since 1991, before then it's been farmed by the same family for the last 7 generations since 1885 when the vines were planted. I mean, stuff like that, which really connects people to a place, which is sort of what makes wine unique and soulful, and what makes it different from other beverages. I mean, is the historicity and the fact that you're linked to some particular amalgamation of grapes growing in a particular spot, which makes it which makes wine special. So we're also doing a fundraising dinner that's coming up at Chez Panisse, which will have a lot of old vine luminaries there. We're hoping that we'll have Paul Draper, we'll have Joel Peterson, who happens to be my father, we'll have Mike Officer from Carlisle, Tegan from Turley, and many other people that are there, and hopefully
make sure I've got the date, because I'll put that up on the website.
Absolutely. Well, and of course we'd like for you to attend as well, because it's always should be, and we feel like Chez Panisse is a very fitting place, given their focus on heirloom vegetables and returning, and it's been a philosophy they've espoused for 40 years.
I couldn't think of a better place.
Yeah, we were kind of amazed when they agreed to do a dinner with us. We're very, very excited and very pleased about that. So if you yourself are an owner of an old vine vineyard and feel like registering, go to www.hvs.org. Or if you're not, just go there and see what we're doing. And it's just the very beginnings of what should be a really, really interesting project, and I'm sure something that will keep me fully occupied for the next several decades.
Well, after the day I spent with Morgan at the first inaugural Historic Vineyard Society walkthrough, I wrote a fairly lengthy article about my experience, and that is posted on purelydomesticwinereport.com or PDWR.co. I've got to move some things around so more people can see it, but it's certainly like you to take a look at that and read it and share your comments with either myself or Morgan. And
it's a great article. And I love that Nalega, or the Angelica, from the Mission grapes from down in the Central Coast. I mean, who would have thunk? But from Gypsy Canyon. I mean, it's really, what I love is not only, people think old vines, and I think their gut check reaction is that they think Zinfandel. But in reality, there's such a incredible tapestry of grapes, both white and red, that are out there in these old vineyards, that part of the hope of HVS is to raise awareness that there is such a wealth of diversity when it comes to the different wines that can come from old vineyards. Yeah,
I still remember the Angelica that Heights used to make from the old Mission grapes, and apparently that source has gone up. Or I was going to say dried up, but that
gone away. Yeah. So, very interesting things for sure.
And just to underscore the value of preserving old vineyards. I mean, when you're walking through and you're seeing vines that are 100 years old and having to appreciate that putting a vine in the ground now, your grandchildren's grandchildren would be the ones enjoying it. So once these vines are torn out, they're literally gone forever. And with climate change and societal changes over the next century, this period of being able to interact and try to intercept some of these vineyards that may be on the verge of going away is very important work. So thanks to Morgan and
not just to me,
the rest of
thank
the
goodness.
Historic Vineyard Society.
Yeah.
These guys have the foresight to step in and bring awareness to this. So Morgan, thanks again.
Thank you so much, and thanks for allowing me to talk about it.
Okay, great.
Cool.